Operation status quo. Operation status quo. Prepare to engage. Operation status quo. Ready to engage. Operation status quo. Engaged. Engaged. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Operation Status Quo. It's the status quo. It's the place to go. It's where you find your flow. Don't you know? Hey-o. Yeah. All right. Let's turn off all this nonsense. Hey, how you guys doing out there? Welcome back to Operation Status Quo. Always a pleasure, as it is each and every week, to be here with you, the beautiful people of the world. I love each and every one of you out there individually as well as a group. You very well know that because I say it all the time. I am pete.palma. I am your user-friendly host. This, of course, is Operation Status Quo, but you know that already. But if you don't know, this is the place where we observe the status quo of life. We learn to flow with the status quo of life. And then, of course, most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, we learn to create our own flow of quo, because that's the only way to go. So what are you doing out there right now, this very second, this very moment, as you're inhaling or possibly exhaling? What is it that you're doing to create your own flow of quo? Just remember, the most important part of what we talk about here on Operation Status Quo is that if you're not living your flow of quo, you're living someone else's flow, and that's the no-no! We won't do it. We won't have it. I won't do it, won't have it. Stop hitting the mic. Yeah. Hey-o. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, I want to make sure people know what to expect right off the bat. That's why we have to, do the little bit of mania in the beginning, so you don't think you're going to get some sort of, anything you would normally see. Provide of content that you may or may not watch. Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to be here, as it always is. I love you guys out there, and it's another Wednesday. Today actually is a Wednesday. It is the 4th of March in the good year. It's 2025. Oh my God, I'm going back in time. Let's not do that. In the good year 2026, pardon me, I don't know what happened. Of course, time, there is no such thing as time. We talk about that here on Operation Status Quo, right? So maybe I just happened to slide back into 2025 for a brief moment, which was seems like a lifetime ago. If you think about what you were doing back in March a year ago, right? Doesn't it seem like a lifetime ago? But anyway, today is the 4th of March in the year 2026. If I could, I will. I did. Thank you. And today's program is entitled "And I Ran." And I ran. Yeah, hold some applause. I ran so far away, and I ran. Hold on a minute. I ran all night and day, but I couldn't get away. Couldn't get away from all the nonsense that we see day in and day out in our daily life at this time, ladies and gentlemen. You like how I did that with the title today, too? And I ran, like I ran. Because of all the madness that's going on over there. But I'm not really going to talk about that per se, but it's just interesting to see because how I always like to say, you have to remember that whatever we see on the news, I mean, truthfully, I enjoy, in a sense, watching world news because I feel like it's always, world news is just an example. I use world news as an example, but whatever conglomerate of nonsensical, information that you're watching, whatever source it's coming from. I think world news personally to me is like the epitome of like, it's like the tip of like the whole thing. It encapsulates like all the lies and propaganda and manipulation utilized to create a subversive, submissive rather society. But I enjoy watching world news in a sense because I feel that it's always showing what they want us to focus on, right? Like they don't come on and talk about things on that are really happening or questions that people really have about what's going on in the world. They just kind of decide what they're going to make the stories and put up to get your attention and keep you diverted from other items. And I always want to say this and preface this because I talk a lot about nothing's real and all that type of stuff and everything's a show and a lie and blah blah blah. I've said that a lot of times. I just want to say that obviously things happen in the world in the physical. I just always look at it as when I say those type of things that this isn't real and everything is more in a way because I feel it, see it in a level that the physicality of our world is just a projection of energies in a sense. So it's happening, but it's only happening within a certain realm, I would say, right? And so not exactly the way we perceive it as these events are calculated. Like everything's symbolic is what I mean. So whatever's going on with all this in the Middle East and such, and the way it's playing out and the way they're saying, but what's the bigger, deeper story, the meaning? Like, going back to talking about, we don't really know our true lineage of history, of humanity and everything else. So how are things put forth to the population to kind of cover, in a sense, of what's really going on a deeper level that they don't talk about, which is always what gets me agitated, is like, why not just say what the hell's going on? But of course, that's the whole point of humanity and duality. We could talk about this. It's like it just goes in a circle all day long. That's why, I mean, really the most important thing is not to pay attention, not saying not to pay attention, but not to let these things or whatever's happening in our world identify who you really are, or limit your power or possibilities for whatever your life could be, because the weight of what they show is heavy on people's minds and hearts sometimes, and it's hard for people to disassociate from what they feel is a scary world or what's going to happen and all those type of things. To me, I hate to say this though, but like when that happened on, I guess it was Saturday, right? And by Sunday, I was feeling, I must be the crazy one. I wasn't feeling happy because like people are dying or they're blowing things up, but I was feeling happy that I feel like, something's like we're moving in a direction. Like, I don't know, like we have to break free of what our world is, and until everything comes crumbling down in a certain regard, or until people are really frustrated with what's happening and the way it's going on, I don't know, right? Until that we get to a point where everybody just like flips, you get over that hump of the mountain where you just you can see down. Now it's easy to go down the other side, right? You're climbing up, and then when you get to the tip, and then you come over, and it's the release in a sense, and you can see clearly now. You can see down all out in front of you, and you can make your way, and you can take your time. That's what I kind of feel like we are as a humanity. I'm not picking on issues per se. I'm not picking on individuals per se, or policies, or what, or anything. I think it's all much bigger than that. So if I sound callous in some regards in the way I explain things, or if I sound like I'm in La La Land or something to you because you feel like I'm not getting a bigger picture, but I don't know. To me, I kind of see it in those regards. It's like because like when the news is showing you stuff like why like something like this happens right in the Middle East, and then it becomes like a 24/7 thing, and they talk about every last little story of this and that, and what's it going to mean for this, or gas prices, or how's it going to spread to this, and blah blah blah, and Dubai, and do and it's just like, but like what's going on? I'm not even going to bring up the Epstein stuff and all, but I'm saying that story is a story that's talking about not only like sexual abuse of women, children, whatever. I mean, it goes even deeper than that. It goes into, satanic rituals and blood sacrifice. It's just like crazy deep stuff that people that are running our world are involved in, and that the fact that the way our world is run is a way to hide and keep everyone in a kind of bubble while they're living in a different world with a whole nother set of standards and a whole nother protocol and a whole nother way of doing things. And our society is set up to keep people stupefied in their products and consumerism and sports and movies and TV and everything else. And like I always say, there's no good or bad. There's no right or wrong. It's not like any of those things on the surface. It's not bad to buy something or what. But I mean, like I was talking about it last week when I was saying, like, everything you watch is infiltrated with commercials. How can you trust anything? And like everything is just one big sale, right? All the time. So, it's just a way of keeping people distracted. Somebody's worried about getting their next whatever they got to fix in the house, or a new knickknack, or this or that, and it just sucks your life away. It's just what I'm saying is it's insignificant, meaningless things that people put so much time and energy and effort into without even knowing why or what. It's just it's just put out there. It's just programmed into your brain for it to be. And not only just with the Epstein stuff. I mean, when you think about what that story really represents, and the truth is, this stuff has been coming out for how long? I mean, when did he first get arrested? Right? And whatever, that was years and years ago, that he was arrested and in jail, and then the whole thing would, whether he's killed or not killed or whatever happened with that. But I mean, think about how much time this has been going on. Then these files have been released and been coming out over time, and still like the system just goes and you know, you want to like, you know, the Clintons recently, they're, you know, she's in the news and all this about she never met him and all this kind of thing. There's pictures like from forever of them. You know, I'm just trying to say how it's all. Listen, if you were just to say how everything is done as like a psyop or a mind bleep or whatever you want to say. I just mean you're just say you're Hillary, okay? Now you know you've been around this guy. There's pictures all over the place, you know, everybody, right? Yeah. So why would you even say, I'm sorry, Jeffrey, who? What's this? Epstein? Oh, Epstein. No, I never, who's this? I never met him. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, how come people, and then people accept it, and like, because people are so divided over the way the propaganda is portrayed to the population, people are so divided on the issues, or they just, again, hate Mr. T so much just because that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether she's blatantly lying or what, or if she's, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, no, they should be focusing here and that. It's just a goofy thing to me of the way it's always, and that on top of that, you know, with the, Epstein stuff, you know, I'm a believer too in big changes as far as our financial system goes and all. I just think, you know, some people talk about liberation and freedom for people. Other people talk about they want to implement another system to make us even more slaves. So the truth is, though, like what's real, you know, again, it always comes back to there's a balance of energy. There's always a balance of energy. There's always going to be the nefarious ways, and there's always going to be the loving ways. You know, there's always going to be groups of people that are going to try to manipulate the system for their benefit. There's going to be groups of people that are going to try to create transparency so that people have more of a equitable playing ground in this life, right? I mean, and it's just where you find yourself within it. Quite honestly, is where you decide to place yourself, because there's never going to be doing away with anything that's going on in the world. In a sense, it's the story of humanity is the same story over and over and over through time. It's just going to be, it's all relative to a time period. It'll just be different scenarios, different scenery, different technologies, different issues, different whatever. But at the core of it all, it's always the same, you know, fight for freedom, really, in a sense of really, truthfully, even more so finding your way back to source and understanding the present moment, understanding that you are something outside of yourself and such, right? So again, the news is only trying to divert your attention. You know, so you know, what's the real objective? Well, the real objective, I guess, is to divert your attention in a sense, because if you're focusing on something like this that's going on currently in the Middle East, if you're hardcore focused on that, then you're full of fear and worry, and you're watching for answers, and you're looking for hierarchy to, But the truth is, the hierarchy creates the confusion, right? They create the confusion to keep you in a sense, you know, in disarray in a way, so that it's easier for them to move about in the ways that they are really doing. I mean, these guys can all be in. I mean, just think about it. They can all be on it together in a way. And I'm not trying to make it like a big conspiracy this way, but in a sense, right? If you're at this top level, you all get together and say, okay, we'll drop some bombs over here in Iran, and we'll talk about blah blah blah, and then you guys shoot some bombs like over here, and you hit some other spots, and we're going to talk, and you're going to talk. But like the truth is, they're all doing it together. Like, we're going to hit you over here, we're going to blow up all this, and then, you know, then you can shoot a couple buildings over here. And like but at another level, they're all doing something else, right? They're all doing something else. So that what's happening on the surface level, again, is always the most minimal of what's really happening. What's happening on the surface level is just a way of getting your attention. You could be like looking at the ocean, you can be watching the waves, and oh my God, like the biggest wave is coming, and you're just focused on this like big wave that's coming in. But what's like underneath the ocean? What's really going on under there? You know, I'm just trying to say there's a whole world going on underneath the wave, but you're just like focusing on the wave coming, and that's what they do. They create the waves, and then you're focused on the wave, and there's a whole another life and world going on underneath the surface. Like, you know, like I always say, that it's always a battle for your mind, your soul, right? if everyone was liberated in that sense, again, there isn't a power over paradigm then, which really doesn't have to be. I mean, in my way of thinking, of course, there's always going to be whatever in the world. I don't expect everyone to always agree and things to be, peachy keen all the time. But at the same time, if we all come from a place of a higher way of thinking, we could allow space for others to have their ways, and we can have practical, logical disagreements and such, but all coming from a place of more so compassion, not like, I don't agree with you say, so I'm going to, kill you. I mean, like, it's like, I don't like the way you live or your thought process or this, your vibration and doesn't jive with mine. So, I, wish you peace, and you live your way this way, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to live, my way that way. It's not, it's just like, instead, it's like everything comes to it. They build it to a point of getting you to attach to stupid stuff. Like, I'm sorry to say, but like, I would never attach to a flag or, a country, or not that I don't like, I was born here in the United States. It's nice or whatever. I mean, but like at the same time, like, it's a whole earth, and it's full of beautiful places and beautiful people and all kinds of things. It should never be like, just the one over the other. And, it's all twisted by higher groups anyway of how they utilize the different societies, the different cultures rather, and countries and stuff to divide and separate everybody instead of coming from the place of the oneness and center. Anyway, I don't know. I just just saying, we don't even realize too the technology and the tools that they have and how they use them to manipulate and create storylines, and because really it's all in your mind. Everything really is in your mind. I mean, what you focus on, what you think. Again, it's not that things aren't happening, but there has to be a level of concentration of thought into those things for them to show themselves in the physical world, right? So there's a certain amount of energy being placed in attention to these more negative ways and things of doing for them to even show themselves. There has to be attention placed on them, and that's why I say, if we don't, I'm not saying ignore it and pretend that it doesn't exist and like live in a bubble, but I'm saying don't feed it. That like, okay, we realize this is this. But that frequency doesn't represent what I would like to see or share in the world. So although I know that this is a facet of what's going on, I am not going to participate in it by taking a side, by watching it all the time and seeing what, I'm right. I'm just not going to feed it. I'm going to feed the attention to the things that I want to see grow and flourish in our world. And hopefully that will offset some of the damn nonsense that they're doing all the time. Woo! I need an applause break. Yeah. Hey-o. Oh my God. But yeah, the news really is like a perfect science. And just to say, going back to like not even realizing the tools and the technology, I don't think I talked about this last week. I don't think I did, but I wanted to mention it because I think I saw, anyway, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, whatever, that last movie was on TV. I guess it was like probably over the weekend or something. I was watching it, and I'd seen it before, obviously, but I'm watching it, and that whole scene, like, when they're in the Jeeps and stuff, and the whole chase is going on, blah, 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 blah. I mean, this whole sequence was blatantly AI. I mean, I recognize it now because, now that the AI is out as much as it is, you can see you could see it easier because we weren't used to it as much before because it was newer. You would go to the movies back then and you would see that and you go, oh wow, look, they're using computers or using the special effects. We didn't really term it as AI necessarily back then when like the movie first came out. But I'm watching that whole sequence and I'm like, this whole thing is like AI, like it's like really amazing. And what I'm trying to say is they were doing that in that movie then. That's just a movie, an Indiana Jones movie. And what was I talking about last week when I was saying that I felt the whole State of the Union thing was AI, right? And people would say, oh, that's crazy. That's very, why would you say that's crazy? You would say that's crazy because you believe in the system. There's no way that a government and the president and whoever, all this type of thing is going to put out a AI fake State of the Union address, or even like going back to the Super Bowl again with that halftime show, this AI produced something nonsense that they put out, and people go, nah, that's conspiracy, rah, 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 rah. But I mean, you have to realize that that you don't realize the level of technology they have, and I mean, just think about how you go in your own life when you want to try to mitigate situations. I don't even mean like you're trying to get over or hurt anybody, but you'll say things maybe in a certain way or do something in a certain way to try to kind of let it go where you want it to go without really just think about that on a bigger world level of people that want to like own everybody. I mean, like, there's no limit to what they would use and do. And again, we're just getting the tip of the iceberg of the technology now really coming into the public's hands and everything. And on top of it, that's part of the confusion that's going on too. It's part of like the psyop in a sense too. They just not purge. They overload, I should say, the system. With AI videos and all kinds of things, and people aren't even aware of like, well, what's really at this point, like, what's really a real video, what's an AI video, what's real information, what's not information. They take somebody that looks like somebody you trust and have them say things that they wouldn't say. Or right, I just trying to say, it's just like it's always a battle for your mind, your heart, your soul. It's just part of the human existence. Our current time frame, our current time period is really just a culmination of everything that's been under the surface bubbling up, and now we're getting to a point where the bubble's gonna pop and we're gonna go in another direction. Again, just going to say it again because I want to make sure I'm clear on this, that it doesn't mean we're ever going to have some perfect utopia or anything. But I do think humanity as a whole, at this point, we deserve at least the truth of what's been going on for many generations and our true history and stuff. And let's, build from that and see what we create. Because, eventually we'll create a nicer, happier society. And then some, dope will come along and mess it all up again for everybody. We'll have more problems again. It goes on and on and on and on and on. It goes on and on and on. Hey-o. Yeah, that's basically what happens. But I don't know. Anyway, that's why that's why with the news I get that way. Like I said, I do like watching world news because I do feel like it's it's always trying to tell you it's when you watch world news, it's almost like knowing you go the other way. Like you watch what they say, and then you go the opposite way, and that's like it's almost like it's actually an easy to use guide. It's actually a good tool because you listen to what the news tells you, and then you realize, okay, if they're saying this, then I know it's got to be something else. So let me start investigating to find out what's really going on. But and then they wind up dividing friends, families, everything, all that. Especially since you think about with COVID, how many people, how that divided people, and of course, Trump divides everybody. But he's meant to do that. Like people take it too seriously, man. It's like this guy is not some like overlord running the world the way it looks like. That people think he's some whatever dictator taking over the world and all this crap. Like I just don't think people realize how deep it is. So anyway, that's just kind of what I'm thinking. That's why, and I ran, not just like about Iran, but I ran away from the news, the mainstream narratives, the psyop, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. The true God of humanity, TV. Hey-o. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I got for you. I hope you guys are feeling good out there and having a good time and enjoying life. I'll give you a quick couple updates. First of all, let me just finish by saying, please, let's just remember as things continue to seem to get crazier or heat up in different ways, like they'll just give less to it. They want you to give more to it. So they keep turning up, the heat, right, to get you more worked up and involved. So it's more, again, it always comes to our own personal responsibility and realization, and we have to step back and not be involved with that. So you just be mindful and not pay attention, be aware, but at the same time take it with a grain of salt, because the other side too, like the ones that talk about the patriots and the fight for freedom and the save the United States and all this whatever that's part of it too, is what I'm saying. It's always You know what I'm saying? You can't take sides of anything. There can't be one. There's not one. The only one answer is that there is no answer. The only one solution is the dissolution of the separation and the oneness, and that's too big for us as humans to, right? So you just got to go with the flow while you're here and do the best you can, and not get too wrapped up and attached into the nonsense that they're trying to keep on you. But anyway, give you a quick update here before I go. That the website's moving along. We're projecting, ladies and gentlemen, that the new website will be available in the beginning of April. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully that still works together. I think we have like a Mercury retrograde going on. So maybe something will get messed up along the way. But we'll see. Either way. And then I'm going to be back in the studio soon to record. I'm hopefully have another song out in a couple months. Yeah. Anyway, things are coming along. And I appreciate all the support out there. And I hope you guys are enjoying everything. And as you know, I love you, though, and that's what I got for you here today on Operation Status Quo. So if you haven't done so before, please take the time to like, subscribe, share, send this out to your friends, your family, those you love, and of course those you despise as well. As you very well know, I love each and every one of you out there individually as well as a group. God bless you, and until next time, Operation Status Quo disengaged.
Boulevard of 10 short blocks.